If the captain of the Titanic quietly got onto a lifeboat 2 hours before the iceberg hit, wouldn't you want to know why? If the people who built the ship, the people who know every rivet and every bolt, suddenly started selling their tickets and getting off at the last port, wouldn't you panic? That is exactly what is happening to the United States economy right now. We aren't talking about theories anymore. We aren't talking about predictions. We are talking about a transaction that has already happened. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, the company that effectively runs the global financial system, has just signaled a $2.1 trillion shift away from the United States dollar and traditional American assets. They are quietly heading for the exits. And they aren't alone. Jeff Bezos just sold $2 billion of Amazon stock. Mark Zuckerberg is selling shares almost every single day. The Waltons are selling. The insiders are cashing out. They know something is coming. Something so big that it makes the 2008 crash look like a minor correction. They are preparing for the end of the American era, and if you don't understand their move, you are going to be the one left holding the bag when the music stops. Welcome back to George Vance Live. I'm your host, George Vance, and today we are exposing the single biggest financial signal of our lifetimes. If you care about your money, your family, and your future, you need to stop scrolling and listen to every word of this report. But before we break down exactly where that $2 trillion went, and trust me, the answer will make you angry, do me a favor and click that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell. The mainstream media is paid to keep you asleep. We are here to wake you up. Join the community that is preparing, not panicking. Let's start by understanding who we are actually talking about. When I say BlackRock, I'm not talking about a normal bank. I am talking about the fourth branch of government. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets. That is more than the GDP of every country on Earth except the US and China. They have a computer system called Aladdin that monitors every trade, every risk, and every shift in the global economy. They see the data before the president sees it. They see the data before the Federal Reserve chairman sees it. So, when Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, decides to move capital, he isn't guessing. He is acting on information that you and I simply do not have. And right now, Aladdin is flashing red. The signal is clear. The United States is a sinking ship. So, what exactly happened? In a series of quiet moves, reallocations, and strategic pivots, institutional capital has started a massive rotation out of U.S. Treasury bonds and the U.S. dollar. For 70 years, U.S. Treasury bonds were considered risk-free. They were the safest investment on the planet. If you wanted to keep your money safe, you lent it to Uncle Sam. But BlackRock has effectively declared that the U.S. government is no longer a safe borrower. They are looking at the $35 trillion national debt we discussed in our last video, and they are doing the math. They know the U.S. government has only two options: default on the debt, which destroys the economy instantly, or print trillions of dollars to pay it off, which destroys the value of the dollar through hyperinflation. BlackRock knows that option 2 is the only political reality. They know the silent default is coming. So they are moving $2.1 trillion out of the blast zone. But this begs the question: if they are taking the money out of the American dollar system, where are they putting it? This is where the betrayal happens. This is the part that proves Wall Street has no loyalty to the American flag. A massive portion of this capital is being positioned into two specific areas: hard assets and emerging markets, specifically China. Yes, you heard me right. While politicians in Washington scream about banning TikTok and fighting a trade war, the biggest money managers on Wall Street are quietly building the lifeboat in the very country that wants to replace us. They are betting on the rise of the East and the fall of the West. They see a United States that is paralyzed by debt, social division, and crumbling infrastructure. And they see a rival that is stockpiling gold, securing oil deals, and building the manufacturing base of the future. Money has no patriotism. Money flows to where it is treated best. And right now, BlackRock has decided that the American dollar is a liability, not an asset. Let's dig deeper into this great exodus. You need to understand that this isn't just about moving money across a border. It is about a fundamental shift in what value means. For the last 40 years, the American economy was built on financialization. We didn't make things. We made financial products. We made derivatives. We made debt. And we got rich because the world needed our dollars to buy oil. But that petrodollar system is breaking. Saudi Arabia is selling oil for yuan. The BRICS nations are trading without the dollar. BlackRock sees this trend accelerating. They know that if the dollar loses its status as the world reserve currency, the standard of living in America will collapse overnight. Your grocery bill won't just double, it will triple. Your savings will evaporate in real terms. This is why BlackRock is buying up single-family homes across America. Have you noticed that you can't compete with cash offers when you try to buy a house? That is them. That is the smart money. They are trading their dying dollars for real physical land and property. They are turning America into a renter nation. They know that when the currency collapses, the person who owns the asset wins, and the person holding the cash loses. They are effectively shorting the American dream. They are betting that you will never own a home, so they will own it for you, and you will pay them rent forever. This is the Great Reset in action. It isn't a conspiracy theory, it is a business model, and business is booming. I want you to pause for a second and think about the psychological game being played here. They tell you on the news that the economy is strong. They tell you that inflation is transitory or under control. The White House press secretary stands up there and tells you that wages are up. But look at what they do, not what they say. If the economy was strong, why would Jeff Bezos cash out $2 billion? If the future was bright, why would the Walton family sell billions in Walmart stock? Insider selling is at a record high. The ratio of insiders selling to buying is off the charts. They are liquidating. They are cashing in their chips at the top of the casino because they know the house is about to catch fire. They are gaslighting you. They need you to stay in the market, buying their stocks and holding their bags so that they have enough liquidity to exit. You are the exit liquidity. Let's talk about the China angle again, because this is critical. While the media distracts you with culture wars, BlackRock has been the first foreign company allowed to operate a wholly owned mutual fund business in China. Think about the significance of that. The Chinese Communist Party, which is notoriously strict about foreign control, rolled out the red carpet for Larry Fink. Why? Because they need the capital, and BlackRock needs the growth. The U.S. economy grows at maybe 2% a year if we are lucky. Emerging markets can grow at 5, 6, 7%. In a world of debt, capital chases growth. BlackRock is helping to build the middle class of China, while the middle class of America is being hollowed out. It is a transfer of wealth on a civilizational scale, and they are doing it with your 401k money. Most Americans don't even realize that their retirement funds are being used to fund the very competitors that are putting their factories out of business. But there is another destination for this $2.1 trillion exodus, and this one is even more telling. It is the move into sovereign assets, gold and Bitcoin. For years, Larry Fink called Bitcoin an index of money laundering. He hated it. He mocked it. And then suddenly he flipped. Now he calls it digital gold. Now BlackRock has the biggest Bitcoin ETF in the world. Why the change of heart? Did he suddenly become a crypto anarchist? No. He looked at the math of the US debt. He saw the $35 trillion. He saw the interest payments. And he realized that there is no mathematical way out for the US dollar. He realized that the only assets that will survive the coming sovereign debt crisis are assets that the government cannot print more of. Gold has a limit. Bitcoin has a limit. The dollar has no limit. This pivot to Bitcoin and gold is the ultimate vote of no confidence in the United States government. When the world's largest asset manager starts recommending that you hold an asset that exists outside of the banking system, they are telling you that the banking system is compromised. They are hedging their bets. They are saying, we hope the dollar survives, but just in case it doesn't, we own the lifeboats. The problem is, they are buying up all the seats on the lifeboats before you even realize the ship is sinking. Now, let's look at the timing. Why now? Why 2025? We are entering a period of maximum danger. The commercial real estate market in the US is on the verge of collapse. Office buildings in San Francisco and New York are selling for pennies on the dollar. Regional banks are sitting on hundreds of billions in unrealized losses. The entire system is held together by duct tape and promises from the Federal Reserve. BlackRock knows that when this commercial real estate bubble pops, it will trigger a banking crisis that makes 2008 look like a picnic. In 2008, they bailed out the banks. In the next crisis, they will have to bail out the government itself. That is the end game. That is when the currency breaks. And that is why the money is moving now. They are front-running the collapse. This brings us to the most important question. What does this mean for you? If BlackRock is moving $2.1 trillion out of America, should you be doing the same? Obviously, you don't have trillions of dollars. You can't just call up the Chinese government and cut a deal. But you can copy the strategy of the smart money. The first rule is, don't hold cash. Cash is a melting ice cube. Every day you hold dollars, you're losing purchasing power. You are working hard for money that is being devalued by the people you elected. The second rule is, get real. Just like BlackRock is buying houses, you need to own real assets. This could be your own home. It could be land. It could be tools. It could be skills. In a hyperinflationary environment, physical things hold value. Paper things lose value. The third rule is, diversify out of the system. This is where gold, silver, and Bitcoin come in. You don't have to be a fanatic. You just have to be prudent. If BlackRock puts 1% or 5% of their portfolio into these assets, why is your portfolio 100% in dollars? You are betting your entire life on a currency that has lost 98% of its value since the Federal Reserve was created. That is a bad bet. We also need to talk about the political fallout of this wealth exodus. As the rich leave, the tax base erodes. When the billionaires and the corporations move their assets offshore or into tax-advantaged shelters, who is left to pay the interest on the national debt? You are. The middle class, the working class. The government will become more desperate. They will increase taxes. They will increase surveillance. They will implement capital controls to stop you from moving your money out. This is why we discussed the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, in our previous reports. The CBDC is the gate. They are building the digital wall to keep your money inside the system while they let the big fish swim away. It is a trap. You might be wondering, is there any hope? Can we turn this around? The math says no. The debt is too high. The demographics are too old. The manufacturing base is too weak. We are watching the managed decline of an empire. But that doesn't mean you have to decline with it. History is full of people who thrived during collapses because they saw it coming. The Roman Empire fell, but people still lived. The people who had land, gold, and skills survived. The people who relied on the state's handouts starved. George Vance is about making sure you are in the first group. I want you to look at the chart of the US dollar's dominance. It is a downward slope. Then look at the chart of gold. It is an upward slope. Then look at the actions of Larry Fink and BlackRock. They are aligning themselves with the upward slope. They are detaching themselves from the American anchor. It feels like a betrayal because it is. It is the elites abandoning the ship they steered into the iceberg. But anger won't save you. Action will. You need to become your own central bank. You need to assess your risk. If you have a 401k that is heavily exposed to US treasuries or US banks, you need to ask yourself if you are comfortable with that risk. Talk to a financial advisor who understands the macro environment, not just someone who sells you mutual funds. Ask them, how are we hedged against a dollar collapse? If they look at you like you're crazy, find a new advisor. The smart money isn't asking if it will happen. They are asking how fast it will happen. In the coming months, you are going to see more headlines. Bank failure, pension crisis, supply chain disruption. Do not view these as separate events. View them as pieces of the same puzzle. It is the unraveling of the debt supercycle. And every time you see one of these headlines, remember the $2.1 trillion signal. Remember that the people with the best data in the world already made their move. They voted with their wallets, and they voted against the status quo. This is the reality of the great American exodus. It is happening quietly. It is happening legally. And it is happening right under your nose. The wealth of the nation is being transferred, and if you aren't paying attention, it is being transferred away from you. I want to leave you with a question, and I really want you to answer this in the comments because I read them all. If you had $1 million right now, and you could not touch it for 10 years, would you keep it in US dollars, or would you put it in gold? Type dollars or gold in the comments below. And let's see where the smart money in this community is. This is George Vance. My job is to tell you the truth, even when it's ugly, especially when it's ugly. The $2.1 trillion has moved. The clock is ticking. Get your house in order, protect your family, and stay free. I will see you in the next video.